This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So we are back in the studio with Valerie, Sam, and we've added a little guest here. Jack, you want to say hi?
Hi.
You say, how's everybody doing?
How's everybody doing?
So good.
I'm doing good, Jack. So, what are some of your favorite things about Sammy? What do you like doing with Sammy?
I don't know.
Well, what did we do yesterday? Did we go see your friends?
Do you like going to the Caterpillar Park?
Yeah.
Does Sammy make good food?
Yeah.
Is Sammy nice?
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Great stuff. So what are some things, Sammy, that like Sam that when you're working with families that you're like, hey, how are we going to handle the situation, whether it's discipline, whether it's boundaries? Because like you're in everything, you know. How do like if somebody was looking to hire a nanny, or if a nanny was looking to, or if somebody was looking to get into the nanny business, like what advice would you have for that person?
For the person hiring or for the nanny themselves?
Let's start with the person hiring. Yeah.
The person hiring, I think we've already touched on a couple things, which is like trust. That's huge. You have to have someone who's reputable, who isn't, doesn't misalign with what your values are. So like religion is super huge, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think
it is. Moving forward, it'll be in mine.
Mm-hmm. It's huge. I think, again, you're having someone help raise your kids. If they could have different ideals than you. Who wants, that's really hard to have different idealed kids when they're like so little. Like Jack is only 3. Yeah. And to have him be like, I don't know, just like gender stuff. He would, that is a huge thing where if he like went to daycare or school right now, that is a possibility that could come into play.
Be a topic.
And it's like, nope, this is what the Bible says and this is the truth. So you can believe it. And he thankfully is like, that girl's a girl, right? She's not a boy. I'm like, yeah, exactly. God made her a girl. And so...
And that's all really good points, because the situations that I've seen with, like, for example, the nanny we had before you, Steph, she ended up leaving that person that she left for us.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, because it wasn't a good fit. And that's
it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. Like, as the family, like, you have to pick the nanny that's best for you, but also as the nanny, you have to make sure that the things that are non-negotiable are in alignment on both sides.
Yeah. I think in looking for a family, again, religion is huge if you're doing it right. And work hours are very important. Having real clear communication with, I start at this time, I end at this time, or no, we're more flexible where we might need you to stay at this time, or we might want you this, or you're on call. And finding someone who kind of agrees with what should be rather than, well, I'm just taking advantage of you. Yeah. You're a hired hand. Just work, because I know families who are like that.
Oh, really?
I don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
And just as a person, I'm like, why? That's just unkind and unloving to someone to be like, well, they are hired and they are doing a service for me. So.
Well, and I guess everyone's different too, because, like if they're paying enough and it was like upfront and it was communicated that it was going to be like that, that's different, right?
That's something I think about all the time. Yeah. Not all the time. I'm not leaving. But is like, if I were to leave, why would I leave? Would it be like $1 million nannying opportunity in another country or something, along those lines? Like, what would it be? Yeah. And it just, I think that we have just morphed into really solid working environment together, and so it seems hard for me to be like, oh, I could just go work somewhere else, especially just being so engrossed in the boys' lives, having some partial real choices like that I can bring to the table.
Totally. Influence.
Fair amount of and so I'm pretty ingrained in their lives.
But that's a good point, because most people, a guy I know, he had nannies for his children growing up. I think his youngest is left now. And he said, Johnny, the typical nanny life cycle is 8 to 12 months. And you've been with us now coming up on 2.5 years. And I was thinking, okay, what's the difference? And the people who are nannying under those circumstances, like there's somebody down the street from us who the nanny is quitting, right, because she's there all night long, and then she's there during the day, and the person's not mean, like they love her, like they want her to be a part of the family, but you're expecting a lot from a person. Who would want to do that job long term? And so if you're looking for somebody, I guess you got, from the parent perspective, from the family's perspective, you have to look at what's the lifespan of this? Like, how long can somebody maintain this? Because this isn't, at the end of the day, they're not your kids. We're not, like blood, And so it's like, you have a life. You have stuff to do outside of us. Whereas, like, this is our family. And so are you treating that person, are you treating that nanny with the respect that, hey, the same respect you would want to be treated by your boss or by, like, are you giving them those boundaries? And then for the nanny, I will say the people who, again, in my limited experience, people who go after the money, they get burned out and they don't want to do it anymore. And then they go to something else. Because if they're working 60, 70 hours a week, they're basically living at that family's house, then their relationships are going to suffer.
Well, and it's hard because you guys innately love your kids and they're your blood. So you are committed to your kids. And a employee coming in trying to kind of have the same level, but not really. It's innately not the same. But it's similar responsibilities. And so hopping into a similar role as the parents, it's really easy to just be like, I don't like you kids because you're work now. I don't have the same bond as the parents do. Right. So I leave and I'm done and I'm so mad at my work, because if there isn't discipline, that's really huge for a nanny and for parents, that dynamic. And so it's like, if I couldn't discipline, I wouldn't work for you guys. Straight up.
Because then it would make work horrible for you because you wouldn't.
That's spoiled kids who do not know the principles of life, and I'm not helping them. So what am I doing as a job? I'm babysitting. That's not what I would like to do as a nanny. I'm not a glorified babysitter. That is not.
What are you? How would you describe, like, if you were to sit down and tell somebody, like, your 30-second elevator pitch, like, how would you describe?
I feel like I'm a nanny plus. So I am like
platinum package.
I don't know about platinum. Brass a little bit.
No, definitely platinum. Like our mom, my mom loves you, right? Like everybody, like in our circle, adores you and just thinks thinks you are an incredible person and a value add not only to Valerie in my life, but more importantly to our children's lives. So nice. Definitely platinum plus. But yeah, how would you describe?
What were you gonna say?
It's hard because I do feel it's like a second mom almost to the house. Again, not a second wife because I think that looks a little bit different.
I joke and say Valerie has a wife. That's what I joke and say.
I can see it that way.
Yeah. Because I'm literally like never around.
No, I rarely see you.
Yeah. And that's intentional, by the way. I don't know.
You're like, I hate you, so I never want to see you.
No, not that. But for wives, a lot of wives refuse to have nannies because they don't want that other woman influence in the home. Right, whether they trust their husband implicitly or not, they don't want that there. And so for me, I'm intentionally there as little as possible, so that way yours and Valerie's relationship can function healthily. If that makes sense.
I don't think that's necessary.
No.
From my point of view, I think there's nothing you can do as of how our relationship's been going that would influence me and my Val's relationship, in my opinion.
But we're talking two and a half years in. Right?
Yeah.
Like 1 week in, 2 weeks in. Why is Johnny always going home for lunches? Valerie's typically there, but that could cause some problems.
Yeah, that could muddy the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're nanny plus. But most people, so this is something when we were interviewing nanny. So we're going back. Let's go back to what we were going to talk about, like how we found you and why we picked you, and kind of what people should expect if they're looking to incorporate this into their family. So back to how we found you was the first couple ones we found on care.com. So that's
which I do think is a good place to start because they background check everybody. Like it's,
reputable.
if you don't have a personal referral, because a lot of people don't know other people with nannies or have access to resources like that, right? And so you've got to start somewhere. I don't think care.com is a bad choice.
I think I even signed up for that when I was a teenager to be like a babysitter, not a nanny.
Yep.
And my sister did that. And I have a bunch of friends who, it's like, well, we're in high school, kind of in college, and we need some money, and we really like kids.
Yeah.
Why not get paid
Might
to
as well.
do that?
Yep. So we started on care.com. That's where we found the first nanny. She was phenomenal. Loved her. There were tears when she left. She left before Jack's first birthday party, and then she showed up for that, and then you were there, and it was like you guys were joking about your family, like because the nannies, you call us the families, right? How's your family?
Yeah.
You know, so care.com. But then you always hear this, whether you're hiring somebody for work or for business or hiring a real estate agent, the best way to find somebody is through a referral. And that's how we ended up finding you.
Yeah, and that's the only way I found work is through word of mouth in any profession I've done.
Really?
Other than one
cool.
where my sister put an application in for a job and said, you're showing up at this time for this interview. I didn't even want the job. I had the job for years, but I did not want it.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Oh, sisters.
But yeah, so that's how we found Sam, was through a referral. So but then what I found too is as we've entered into this ecosystem, this system of people who have nannies, now we know other people who have nannies, and there's more people out there than you would expect.
Yeah.
But if you're coming into the first time, maybe try care.com, maybe reach out to some people who have had nannies or might have had nannies, and see if there's any recommendations. And then so you have some applicants, you have some people that you think might be a good fit for your family. From a nanny's perspective, what's your typical, like, what can a family typically expect from a nanny to do? Not a nanny plus, but just a regular nanny.
I feel like a nanny is just making sure the kids survive and have a good time. From my point of view, that's kind of what it is.
The base level. Yeah.
Yeah, and typically tidy up but not clean the house. I feel like that's more typical in line with nanny jobs.
Yep. And then, so if you're expecting her to, like, the nanny to come in and do all the dishes, do all the laundry, cook dinner every night, that is outside the bounds of expectations.
Yeah, if it's not set.
Yep.
Up
If
front,
I just
right.
was like, oh, a nanny in my mind just takes care of kids. That is
Yep.
just the first thing that I think of, and it's really simple. But again, each family has different requirements for their household and like desires for that.
Agreed. So just make sure that you're speaking the same language. Like Valor and I, love of my life, we've been together a long, long time, but sometimes we're speaking different languages, even though we're both speaking English. You know, and there's miscommunication that takes place. So when it comes to bringing somebody into your family and, you know, exposing your kids to them for extended periods of time, you know, make sure you're speaking the same language. And then another question I have is how do you balance the, like, hey, I'm in an authority role here with the kids, but then also make it so that they still respect and love and honor their parents? Like, how do you structure that?
I think I owe a lot to my sister Bonnie and her husband Corey. They have been a huge influence in my life to be a really, just a really good biblical influence. And I think the heart is the key to everybody. So it's, in all situations, it's like, yeah, you did slap your brother in your face, but why? Why did your heart push you to go slap him in the face? You were angry at him. He took something from you. You're in control of what you do. And you have to have self-control, the last fruit of the Spirit. And so it's really, I think, having good interactions with the kids all the time is not going to work. Having just fun, happy things, that's just not real life. And that's not even outside real life, out of the house.
Correct.
It's not, you're not always going to be number one. You're not always going to succeed. I rarely do. And so just being realistic about things. Like Jack will be like, can I have ice cream? I'm like, no, you may not.
It's 9 a.m.
It's 9 a.m.
We're not doing
or
that right now.
I've decided no.
Yeah.
And he can either be like, oh, all right, that's totally fine. Or he can, whatever way he chooses to go. And so I think one thing that I heard was parenting and like my role is every single second is a judgment call.
Oh my gosh.
It's constant.
Yeah.
And whether you're letting them sit down and watch a show for 5 minutes, 1 minute, 10 seconds, or you're letting them not be disciplined when they should be, and then it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
Or they eat whatever they want, and then you have to make a meal for them. Every time you make your own meal, you have to do separate. Or you can encourage them and do the right thing of being like, all right, well, just eat this really quick, be done with it, and then you can finish whatever that you want to eat. That's something that I always do with Jack. I'm like, just eat the vegetables that you don't like first, then it's done, then you don't have to think about it. Do the hard stuff first, then you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And then you can have fun and leisurely. And I try to do that even with work. It doesn't really work super well, but I'm always like, let's do hard work first. Let's get the laundry done. Let's clean the kitchen. I'm not as disciplined in that as I'd like to be, but just let's do the hard things first. You can do it. That's something that we talk about a lot is
Oh, that's big with Jack.
That's big with Jack is he's like, I can't do this. I'm like, okay, I disagree. You can climb up this flight of stairs, or you can walk through the store and have me not hold you. It's possible. You are capable.
Yep.
And you'll figure it out. We will figure it out together.
Yeah.
And like yesterday, he was climbing up this big rock wall, and he was like, Sam, I can't do it. And he started to cry, and I was just, you have to be calm. Number one, because he is a scatterbrain. He's very influenced by outside people. If people are watching or if there's a lot of talk, it's like, all right, focus, slow your breathing down. And thankfully, he does a lot by himself. He can take some
learned.
breaths. Yeah.
It hasn't always been
He's
that
only
way.
3.
Yeah.
So he's doing pretty well for a 3-year-old, I think. And so it's just helping.
Thanks to you two.
Yeah. Just takes a lot of work. I think it's raising kids is a lot of work. It's good work. It's hard work. And it's right.
Is there any memorable moments either with our family or others where it's like, you're like, this is why I enjoy my job?
It's funny because Benny is so cute right now. He's so fun and he's so wild. But just even like this week, he started to walk so well with his little fishy walker.
Yeah.
And he we'll play peekaboo around the kitchen because you have a big kitchen island. And so he will push it through one side and be stuck on a wall, and I'll run around and play peekaboo. And he just has the biggest, sweetest, cutest smile. And he is pure joy, happy in those moments. And usually, like, Jack will be asleep, so it's just he and I, which is
he
really
loves
fun.
Those moments.
He is so fun. And one thing about Jack is he thinks he's so funny, and he's not. But one thing...
Poor Jack.
He'll be fine. One thing... He said his first joke, I think he was just over 2. And he, I want them to be really funny. I think it's just a natural thing. But, telling jokes is one way to get them. It's like thinking about jokes. And one day we were pulling up to your old house. I was typing the gate code in, and he was like, hey, Sam, look up in that window. And I was like, okay, what's up? What is there? I don't know what's going on. He's like, there's a cow in there. I was like, what? Am I missing it? And he's like, gotcha.
I like that.
I'm like, oh, hilarious, bud.
Hilarious.
And he was
moment.
He was busting up. He's like, I so got you. Wasn't that hilarious?
Oh, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, when they're laughing hard, it's hard not to laugh with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
As long as they're being nice. As long as they're being nice.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, you want to come over here?
I have to go back and see the patio.
Why don't you come up on my lap real quick?
You can tell us a joke, Jack.
Yeah, Jack, you got any
You want
jokes?
to tell us a joke?
Like a knock-knock joke?
Say it into the
Or
microphone.
Mickey Mouse?
All right. I just want to make sure we covered the questions that my mom sent in.
Oh, fun.
Okay.
The show's biggest fan.
The show's biggest fan.
Our listeners.
How can a nanny keep the tie to the parents the main relationship if the nanny's with the children most of their waking hours?
How can the nanny keep the relationship with the parents? Was
Like
that the question?
the relationship between the parents and the kids, how can they keep that most important, even if the nanny's the one that spends the most time with the kids all day?
I think that's up to the parents. I don't think it's up to me.
I agree.
I think
Yeah.
it's your guys' influence, whether it's good or bad. Like, I think it's up to you to say, we love our kids and we're spending time with them, and it's good time. It's not
Like we're all just
we're
sitting
just
in front of the
happy
TV
and everything's fantastic. Yeah, or it's quality time together and not. I don't think it has anything to do with me other than respect all people, be kind and loving, and show partiality. I don't think anything. It's all out of my hands, in my opinion.
Yeah. So as far as the nanny goes, just edify, don't trash talk the parents. But as far as really having that glue and really impacting the kids to be like, hey, we're going to respect our parents.
Can you whisper, honey?
It needs to be, it's up to the parents. At the end of the day, they're your kids. It's like being the CEO of a company. You may have other people involved with running the company, but at the end of the day, the buck has to stop, with the parents.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
For sure.
So Mama, we got that one. And then what would you recommend parents do to make the most amount of time with their children? That's the other question from our favorite listener, Mama.
Again, I think it's up to you
Quality
guys.
time. Just quality time.
What do you value?
Yeah.
It's not really up to me. I think encouraging them, like, Jack's not really into art, but every Christmas he gives you some kind of art thing that he does with his grandma, and he loves to do that when he does it. When he doesn't really care for it. But, it's just encouraging him to think of others and be like, well, do you want to buy this pastry for your mom? Like, that happens all the time. We'll be at a coffee shop or something, and I'll be like, well, what would your mom like? And then we pick out something for her.
Yep.
It's like, think about others all the time.
Think
as much
outside
as you
yourself.
can.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
So, in closing, the intent behind this episode is really just to expose people to a job that maybe has a lot of mystery shrouded around it and a lot of misconceptions. And so hopefully we've been able to accomplish that today.
It's funny. Sorry, you sent me some questions that you might be, just to familiarize myself. And you had asked what is some misconceptions, and I don't know. There were zero that I could think of. I was like, misconceptions about nannies? I think it might just be like a small niche job, so it's not a lot of familiarity out in the world, but I don't know. Are there misconceptions about nannies?
I think so. The misconceptions I had was, what do they do? What are their hours? What are they paid? How do you balance like home life with them? Like you're bringing, it's not like, imagine having a guest in your house every single day, 8 hours a day. So you show up at 8:30, you leave at 4:30, and there's just a lot of people are really nervous about them. They're not sure how that would, the dynamics and mechanics of how that would work. And so we don't have to necessarily go into like details about your situation, but like, so let's just real quick, we'll just do rapid fire. What would be a typical, if somebody's looking to hire a nanny, what would they expect to pay for somebody full time? Like what's a range?
It depends on their experience. Okay. If they've been a nanny for many, many years, that's a huge thing. Yeah. So I would say above $30 an hour because of their expertise, and typically it's more than that. And what they're doing. So if it's just babysitting, just taking the kids to the park a couple days a week or something like that, or if they are younger, if you hired like a 20-year-old who was good that you liked, but she's only 20, you could probably just start her a little bit lower because she's younger and she doesn't, like, I'm 27 and I've got expenses and I have a car payment and I have all of these things, and so I cannot be in a job where I'm making less money like a 20-year-old. I'm not at an entry level
You're not
job.
living at home.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not living at home. So that's really key. And then I forgot the question.
So that's income. And then should somebody hire, I know what I would lean towards, but from a nanny's perspective, should they hire somebody part-time or somebody full-time?
It depends on what their job situation is.
Totally different.
Yeah, if they have to have full-time, then they need full-time, or 2 part-time. I don't know. It seems like less people in the house is better, so full-time is great. It's just up to what's needed.
Well, yeah, and also some families, like maybe the mom is a nurse and she only works 3 days a week. So she only needs somebody like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? And then the nanny's like, well, that's great because I have another job that's weekends, right? So that fills in the gaps.
There you go.
And it works for everybody.
Okay, so part-time, full-time, pay, and then just honestly the expectations of like what the nanny does. So basic nannies, we covered watching the kids, Nanny Plus, like some other things. So maybe it's dishes, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's laundry, maybe it's shopping.
Check.
Check.
Some people don't want those things done for them.
Correct.
Like I know some moms that like they have a nanny, but they like doing their own laundry. They want it a certain way, right?
Oh, really?
And so they're like, please don't touch my laundry. I'll do it. You know?
I think that's totally appropriate. Whatever you want.
Or like I want to cook a certain way and you're not good enough or whatever. Like I'll do the cooking, please. You know, stuff like that, right? So I think every situation's totally different, Johnny, and it's not like a one size fits all.
No, I agree. I agree. I'm just saying, like, for expectations, like, just because Sam's on the show and Sam does all of these things, she's the Platinum Plus Diamond package, right, over here. That's not what everybody should expect. And then the only thing that maybe we can have you back on the show sometime next year, Sam, but we've never traveled together. And so that's going to be interesting.
Big trip coming up in March. I am so looking forward to it.
I'm so nervous.
glad that you're looking.
I'm glad you're looking forward to it. I am so nervous.
Me too.
I am not. I mean, it's just preparing, in my opinion, is be like, well, we have to be flexible. That is something I forgot to say.
Yeah.
Patience and flexibility are massive in hiring someone who's going to work in your home.
Yeah.
Whether it's house cleaners or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
That's
with kids.
huge.
They're always different every day.
Yeah. And so having your structure of these are our core values, this is really smart, these are things that we do every single day. And then there's also, well, you know what? He's throwing a fit. We're not leaving the house today.
Yeah.
Or he is terrible and we have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And so the other day, it's really embarrassing. We were going to meet one of my friends who I love so much, and she's got some kiddos that Jack loves. And I was so mad that day. I don't know what it was. It's like the
Under
devil
your
was
skin.
just like, guess what? It's going to be really bad today. And I was like, ooh, this is really difficult. And Jack was just pushing all of my buttons. And then we come up to the park. We're at the stoplight right before the park and can see the park. And Jack's like, oh, I'm not wearing any shoes. He's never walked out of the house without shoes. He loves talking about shoes. The moment we get into the laundry room, he's like, I'm going to wear my rain boots. That's his favorite shoe right now.
Yep.
And I was like, nuh-uh. You're not wearing shoes right now? And so it's my job, just like anybody dealing with anyone, you have to control yourself, be calm. And I was. And inside, he's only seen me frustrated one other time, and I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But this time I was like, we are turning around and going home. I am not doing this. And I was like, no, I can't. And Jack was like, I think you're really upset right now. And I was not loud.
Yeah.
I was not angry outwardly, but he could tell. I was really short. I was like, we are going home. We are doing this. We are doing that. And he was like, Sam, can I pray for you? You seem like you hate this. I was like, oh my gosh. I do not hate this. I'm sorry that you see that. And that's my fault that I am not being kind to you, that you're seeing me upset. And he was like, just said a really sweet prayer. And then it kind of helped because it like softened me a lot more. And
wow.
So I'm glad that he is wiser than me and is like, you know what we should do right now? Maybe we should just be praying and just be calm for a little bit.
Well, there you go. Well, hey, Sam, you were planting those seeds, and that you got to pull off some of the fruit right there in that moment.
Yep.
So
cool.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. That was a fantastic end to this segment, and look forward to having you back after Cabo.
Bye, Cabo.
So obviously, I don't have to tell you that during the holiday season, you are extra busy with so many things to do, so many events to go to. You don't have time to think about all the things you need to do to sell your home. So Johnny Jennings, our good friend with Made for More Realty, he's made it simple, easy, like he did for Sabrina, who wanted a cash offer for her home. So he brought her a dream offer. She accepted it and was even able to stay in her home after closing so she could make a smooth move to her next home. That's what they do. They make things fast, easy, and simple at Made for More Realty.
Yeah, just one of the many reasons they've been voted the #1 team in Roseville for the past 3 years. Plus, if you're trying to sell your home this time of year, why have all these strangers and stuff traipsing through, looking at all your Christmas decorations, judging how you're decorating your house, when you can get a guaranteed 3 cash offers, at least 3 cash offers from Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. There are so many reasons why they have over 800 5-star reviews. So So, you expect more, get more with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team at Made for More Realty. Just Google Made for More Realty today and get more for your home. License number 1982171.